Hello, and welcome to Birds on Power Lines. And as usual, we're going to be reviewing something that we were watching.
Yes.
And in fact, what we're doing is our second part of Skeleton Crew. So if you're new to Birds on Power Lines, we have already done a podcast on the first...
few months ago.
Yeah, I guess 2 months ago?
A few months
on the first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, go and check that out. And today we're going to be doing the last 4 episodes of Skeleton Crew. And if you are listening to us on audio, we are also on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube and you want to listen to us on audio, you can find us on most platforms as well. So we're on Tumblr,
Spotify,
Apple Podcasts. We're also on Facebook,
Podbean, and here on YouTube.
And of course, you're on YouTube at Birds on Power Lines Podcasts. Yep. All right, so shall we start?
Yes.
And if you're not familiar how we do this, we don't usually know what we are going to say because we
watch it together.
We watch it together. And yeah, like sometimes we're not together and we do podcasts over Zoom. But in this case, we are together. We wanted to watch the last 4 episodes together.
Yeah.
So that's why this is a little bit late. But in any case, hopefully you enjoy this. And so do you want to go first for episode 5, or do you want me to go first?
I did not write the episode titles down.
I did, of course.
I know you
like
did.
Usual.
Yeah.
So episode 5, you have a lot to learn about pirates.
Yeah. So this episode was the spa episode. They were on the planet Lanupa trying to find Tack Renan's I think it's Tack Renan.
Tack Renan?
Tack Renan?
You mean Captain Renan?
Captain Renan? Captain Renan? No,
I don't know what his first name is.
Okay, whatever.
Anyways, whatever.
They're trying to find Captain Renan's treasure, basically.
Treasure, his storehouse, his home base, his hideout.
He found the coordinates, etc. And I thought pretty much all of the antics on the small planet were quite funny. Like I liked that one scene where there was a hut of undeterminable origin. There was a hut, and the hut was getting served by one of the people in the spa. Instead of taking the platter of food,
yes,
ate the guy. That was it was like little things like that.
I think I wrote something about that too, but yeah.
I thought that was funny, and I really liked KB with the wrench when they were getting chased by spa security. What are you gonna do with that?
Well,
that was I thought.
Yeah,
that was
I didn't actually mention that, so I thought that was good. I recalling that.
Yeah, but I just like just the little things in there in the episode, and one thing I wanted to mention was that the bounty hunter Pocket was played
I did not know
was
that.
played by the actress Kelly MacDonald, and she is the way I know her. She's the voice actress for Merida from the movie Brave.
Yes, and that's why we have her up there, a little figurine.
I really loved that. That was like a very, very central movie to my childhood. So I just thought that was really nice. And just in general about this episode, I was still thinking, like, John, he's okay. Like, I was still trusting him, and then he was like, okay, I'm gonna duel Fern for the captain stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm now at this point I wasn't really sure what to think about him anymore.
Yeah, I think you'll see. Like, I was thinking that I was still rooting for him.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure at this point.
I just was like, and one of the reasons I was still rooting for him is because, he has obviously had some sort of Jedi training. Mm-hmm. And anyways, for those of you watching, this one's got a bit of a cold, so
a little bit.
we're going to struggle through this. But so because he had some Jedi training, so I was thinking, I don't think that, and that's why I was thinking that he was, he was going to turn out to be like the good guy.
Oh.
What? No, because I mean, it's a Jedi training, and and I think they kind of like it's a bit of a character thing, unless you turn to the dark side. But
I guess.
But so, anyways, so I'll get to that on the last episode. But yeah, I was really rooting for him. But yeah,
and then the last thing was like in that scene when Win was holding the lightsaber. I was thinking, you know, I bet he's gonna turn it on. It's gonna be like upside down, and that's what happened. That was funny.
Poor guy.
I know. I felt bad. But...
He was like trying to be brave and heroic, and then oh my god, yeah, I know. All right, so is that all you were going to say about that?
That was all I had to say.
I actually had a different approach when I started this one.
Okay.
I loved to see the parents start to do something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so, I mean, because... I understand they're on At-Atten, and I get the vibe that they're just...
They can't really...
You know, they're just... I think out of the generations, they're just used to... not taking action, right? Because there's always some, you know, one of the droids or somebody's going to look after things for them, and you know, so I get it. So it's like a generations after
also,
generations.
Like jumping ahead to like the last episode, like the supervisor said, like literally, like obeying authorities, but what kept Atten running very smoothly. So it's just like a kind of just a thing.
You know, it's just a thing, right? Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how they selected who was going to live on that planet, but initially, so. Anyways, I'd love to learn about that. But anyway, so it was good to see them start to do something. And, you know, and they know that they're isolated somehow, right? They must know this. I mean, they know it, but then they must realize that the world is doing stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if I'm going to use like a phrase from the Dark Tower, I said the world is moving on, right? So the world has moved on in some way or form. And there must really rarely get communication from the outside. Yeah. So I don't know if they would find that odd.
I figured out how long it actually was.
Okay, well, remind me about that later. Yeah. So, you know, so it's like, you know, wondering what, you know, to live and work there, like somehow they just accepted that their ancestors just accepted that they were going to be isolated, I guess. But printing credits and nobody coming to get them. I mean, really? I mean... I mean, that would be an indicator that there's something not right? I mean, they must have been coming to get credits. I mean, the government prints money and then I don't know what happens, actually. They must recirculate credit or money, right?
Well, because the Empire was using imperial credits, they were completely different from...
Yeah, so, I mean, so they must have realized something wasn't right outside, right? So there was that. Or the supervisor, and they just protected them for that. So, you know, so there's really something going on. And I started thinking, you know, who is the supervisor and who's keeping them like this? So I was thinking, well, I started, and this is a theme all the way to the end. Who is the supervisor? You know, and I was thinking, well, maybe...
I was not thinking about that, actually.
I was thinking, well, what if it's Captain Renaud? And he's just like hiding it. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, maybe. And
I was thinking, what? Because they don't actually show him being dead. They just assumed he was dead. So part of me was thinking, well, what if it turns out to be the captain all this time and he's just living a good life on At-Atten?
John said that like Renaud was like killed by like some person on his crew, and then he pulled the knife out of.
So you think that's who it was?
I think that was.
I don't know. And I mean, how did they all end up on that? Did they all have a battle with each other as they were crashing?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
That's the part that so we can come back to that. But I was just like, you know, they're you know, he obviously managed to get through.
Well, because the ship was on autopilot.
Okay,
so he must have set it on autopilot, and then they all were like.
I didn't think of autopilot. I was thinking, well, what are they doing? Like they're getting through the barrier, and are they fighting as they go through?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I that's where I was thinking, well, maybe the captain's just hiding out there and having a great life, right?
That could have happened. But...
maybe he decided to want the quiet life after all. I don't know. And then with the kids, I think they start to realize how terrible things are on the outside, in the outside world. They really realize how bad it is. But then on the same side, and this kind of little bothered me a little bit, like they're because they're obviously intelligent kids, and then they start playing on the bed, and I thought, oh, that was silly. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like, because Jod is trying to explain to them how much danger they're in, and then and then I really liked that scene where what's his name, Tholops, the guy in the spa that helped him get down into the hole.
Yeah.
I have it spelled here, but I don't know. Thalops, whatever.
I don't remember.
First they were scared of him, and then they start telling him stories, and then they and then they're all cool. So I thought that was cool. And then getting back to what we were talking about in the first podcast on this, the whole thing between Captain Silvo and Captain Renaud, right?
Not the same person.
They are definitely different people, and you know, so he's Captain Silvo, but they never expand upon that, right? Yeah. So we don't really know why he was put in I guess the stockade in the first episode, like why he was put there. I mean, obviously they had a disagreement.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw like in the opening scenes, we saw like they were trying to plunder something. There was only one credit, and then everyone got.
Yeah, but that was with Captain Rennet.
No. That was with John, because it's the helmet. It's John's.
All right,
helmet.
so this is where I'm like.
That was with John.
No, but they were trying to plunder the Imperial thing. There was a credit in it.
Yes. There was the New Republic thing.
New Republic.
There was one, but that was what caused John's crew to mutiny against him, because they spent all this time trying to like blast onto
Okay, well, I
thing.
thought that was Captain Rennet, and that's why they ended up having a fight.
No, because we see like all of the pirates that we see later that were part of John's crew. We see them in the opening scene. Also, John with the mask. That's why like in
that makes sense episode, now.
With the weird triangle mask thingy. That's the same guy.
Okay, but that's confusing then, because there is that whole thing about them trying to get because obviously they were thinking that ship or that frigate or that freighter or whatever was going to be filled with credits.
Yes.
Right, so they must have known something about that. I guess maybe it's just a lead-in that there were ships going through that area because they were leaving at Atten. Mm-hmm. But then that would have been a long time. Anyways, so there's if you're listening to this and you have more to share about this, but I feel like there's a disconnect then because obviously they've been isolated for a lot longer than that. So yeah. So I don't know. There's so I was always thinking that was Captain Rennet, and that was okay.
I'm pretty sure that was John. I think.
All right, so there was that. So that's why I still have this weird thing about that. So there's something I'm not getting. But anyways, it's not distracting me from enjoying the series though. But I feel like I don't understand at the beginning. So I don't know if it's just me or if other people felt the same way. So I feel like there's a disconnect because you did figure out how long they were isolated. So there obviously wasn't anyone going back and forth for longer than since Captain Rennet was crashed on the planet. It would be longer than that because Jod wouldn't have been in jail for 30 years or whatever.
No. Yeah, no. Well,
so that's why I'm having anyways. What? That's why I'm not understanding, right? Because then obviously they're thinking that there must be money moving back and forth that belongs to the New Republic. So there's a connection that's missing. I think. I don't know. Or somehow Jod knows about this, or I don't know. But then he seemed to be surprised to learn about that.
Was the New Republic ship coming out of
I don't know. They don't say that.
They
don't say that. It was just a New Republic ship that should have had credits in it, and it didn't have credits in it.
Well, I think that was just a thing to introduce the fact that there were pirates. Like
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. So that's. But I just thought that was a connection about how they ended up crash landed on Atten.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was just like an introduction to John.
Maybe. I don't know. But I was always thinking it was an introduction to the whole...
I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
So there we go.
Sure.
So if you're listening and you have more to say about this, I don't know the answer to that. So there's obviously a question that I'm still pondering and I'm still not clear on. And then, I also said Jod versus Fern. Mm-hmm. I literally said, I don't believe he's going to abandon the mission or the kids. I think he's figured something out and he's trying to protect them. I really thought
he figured something out, but I don't think
evidently he did figure it out. And he just thought he needed to take control. And then I said, is Captain Rennet on Atten?
I still don't really know why he felt... I still didn't really figure out why he felt compelled to do that. Like, I guess
because he's a pirate.
I guess, but like the kids weren't going to.
Yeah, so I said, maybe Captain Rennet, and I said, or maybe he really is just a bad person, and that's why he's Jedi trained but didn't ever become a Jedi, right? Maybe they dumped him. Who knows? And
they dumped him.
I don't. Well, no. I mean, they kind of realized he was gonna go down the other path. I don't know. I was not feeling. I mean, we find out in the last episode, but and then of course he did fill the acid back in the pool outside the door.
Yeah, he did do that.
So that's kind of nasty, right? So So I mean, I guess that and then so sad. I had such hopes for him. That's what I was saying. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Zero Friends Again, episode 6. Zero Friends Again. Yep. Do you want to start, or do you want me to? Or are we going to do the thing back and forth? Okay, so we'll do that technique. Okay, Zero Friends Again. I really enjoyed the character development in this episode. Mm-hmm. right? I think that's something that the arc of these 8 episodes, I think they really do this well in this series in character development. I didn't feel that way about, maybe a little bit in Ashoka, but definitely not with the Acolyte. I didn't feel that there was a lot of character development in the Acolyte, right? So I think I was really happy to see that with Skeleton Crew, that there was definitely character development. And lots of and especially lots of character development now with John. Now you're really starting to see what that guy is like, and I put LOL, right? So I thought it was really and that tension when Wim was trying to help KB with that part, like I was really feeling the worry that it wasn't gonna. I mean, of course it's gonna work out, but I
thought that was also done well. Yeah.
And then the surprise about the ship hiding in the ship, I thought that was kind of cool. But that would be a pirate thing to do. So definitely the kids got to grow as people here. And and I think I also wanted to say, something about the last episode I put here because I forgot. The parents are working together and the kids are learning to work together. They're both learning how to work together. Even though they sort of separated the kids for a little bit, they have one of those like grade school tiffs and then they come back together. And I thought it was kind of funny when Jod came out of the hole with all the jewels on him. Like that was that was really kind of funny. Jewels and plunder, and I thought I was surprised that the other pirates didn't react to that. They were like, okay, whatever, Jod, get in the ship, instead of like, wow, plunder, So that kind of reminded me a little bit about Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know.
I never saw that movie actually. But...
I haven't seen those either, but it just kind of reminds me about that vibe. So all right. So that was my take on episode 6.
Okay. Well, for me, I also liked the separation because we had Wim and Neil and KB and Fern, but then we had
they kind of switched friends a little bit, right?
Women, Fern, and KB and Neil were there, and then we had that interaction, but now we have interaction between they're switching
the opposite, the switcheroo. So getting to know each other. I thought that was good.
I thought that was good. It really is. I just think it makes them all very equal. I guess.
Yeah.
In terms of,
I didn't think about that, but that's also a good aspect of it.
I like that. And I just think I thought it was very funny. Wim always picks the wrong people to trust, and he literally straight out says that, which I think is very good. It's good that he says that because we're all thinking it, but it's nice to know that he actually realizes, of course this happens again.
Of course, yeah.
But I think the best scene was the entire sequence with them starting from the Fern and Neil seeing the robots carrying up their ship and then jumping on the thing all the way up to the ship escaping from the incinerator. I really thought it was good that they finally they used the hull demolition thing, hull demolition sequence. Do not touch that button. I think it was good.
I see what you're going.
They brought that back in too. I just
don't touch that button. And they're gonna do it, but I was actually thinking about that. Why would they say that? Never touch that.
Never touch that.
Because it's actually a good thing. But I guess it's really if you're really in an emergency.
Yeah, and I guess they're in an emergency. And I really just thought that the whole following the kid when they were holding on to the robot or to the whatever that platform thing was, and it was flying around. I thought
the point of view.
I just like that.
I didn't think about that, but they did.
And they did that again in the last episode too.
Yeah, they do
with the speeder bikes. But I like when they do that.
It's funny though. When I think of doing that kind of point of view thing, I'm not usually thinking of CGI or whatever.
Yeah, but
I usually think of it in terms of film. But it definitely is a thing. So, but I don't usually think about it when it comes to that because of the animation involved.
I just think it was done very well. And at this point at the end of the episode, I just was really wondering what happened to John. What made him I want the backstory. I really
and at the end of the day, I'll say this now, I think we should have a series just on that.
Yeah, well, I actually think because there hasn't really been a huge amount of things we've seen the main plot points of the battle against the Empire, but we haven't really seen aside from Kenobi and like I guess Rogue One in a sense, and like
well, Andor
and Andor, but like other than that, we haven't really seen that much like really just like the nitty gritty, like what has been like what like I really want to follow like a. I mean, we have like the video game series Jedi Fallen Order, but like I really want to see what happened to like more of what happened to some like Padawans and stuff like when
I
they
mean,
were hiding
and
in the
that's the thing with Star Wars.
things.
There's just so much there that they can build on.
Oh,
and
yeah, and then also sorry, back to because you were saying you wanted to see like how that happened like with and like being like there and stuff like in the old Republic days. Like we did have Acolyte, but I also they like more like we need more like also like in those two areas. Like we need like more like pre-Empire.
And that's
like
why it's such a
like,
shame that
old
Acolyte
things.
was canceled.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Like,
getting in, you know,
those
filling
two,
in some
yeah.
of those gaps as
Yeah.
to how all this happened, right?
And now we have like just a lot of series like after like Return of the Jedi, like almost everything that they've produced
and I mean,
right now. Is,
I wonder how much
that.
of that was in George Lucas's head.
I don't know.
Like I'm just
know,
wondering,
but,
like, you know,
yeah.
how much he had filled in as he was going and doing this, and I'm just I don't know. Anyways,
anyway,
it's definitely something that I like more of.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but I was just more backstory on that. I'm glad we got like a bit in. I still kind of want a little bit more. Like I understand why there wasn't more than what we were given, but like I want to know more.
Want to know more.
I want to know more. Yeah.
I think we all want to know more, right? Okay. Yeah. All right. So that was episode 6, right? So you're going to start with episode 7?
Yes, sure.
All right. So episode 7, we're going to be in so much trouble.
Yeah. So I was like very happy when 33 just punched John. Pretty much.
Actually, I was getting up to get something to drink or something, and I actually missed that part. I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah,
what the hell?
33 just straight up punched on. I just thought like that whole like interaction, that whole scene, like I call claim days on the ship. And you can't do that. That's not how that works. Well, close enough. And just punched on. Yeah.
So at that level, I guess SM33 knows that. You know,
yeah.
These are kids.
These are children. Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice that, and especially like one thing I think that Star Wars especially does like very well, and it's just like a thing like even though like the droids like within the universe are technically kind of treated as like more like subspecies, like they're not like because they're not like alive.
Yeah, it depends on the character.
Depends on the character.
I mean, it's
but like I think that a thing that it does very well is it like every single movie like really humanizes the droids in a sense, like even if it's like a droid that like can't talk, like an astromech or like
but they talk in their own way.
They talk in their own way, but like I just think it really is nice that they
that's a
droids
continuity. I mean, they started with R2D2 doing that too, right? And then
and it's like and quite often the droids are like my favorite characters in every iteration
because they're selfless. Most of them are pretty selfless.
They're just very like very loyal and very selfless, but they're also like complicated enough to give them character depending on the droid. But again, I just really liked that. I liked this again with SM33. But at the end of the episode, I was very shocked when he got decapitated by John. And I was like, no.
I thought that's going to be the end of that was going to be the end of
really
SM33, but we actually got more. So
yeah, and
but the rat, I just love the rat creature thing.
What is up with that rat? Like,
it's like what did you just do?
Is the rat like a part of SM33 now?
Like, I guess
it's like just like living in his head. Like,
I guess that's his permanent home.
So
because he starts now riding on KB's head in the last episode.
So there's that. I'm wondering about the rat. Like what is up with the rat? And then also one thing I really noticed in like weird thing in the last episode too. Like a lot of the like authority figures, like per se, like the droids on Atten and the supervisor and the parents and stuff, they're at times like a bit more naive than the children.
Yeah, I get, like, and I mean, and if you think about it, I mean, first of all, it's a children's series, so they do that, but, I mean, but it also is like, you know, as an adult, you get conditioned to just accept how things are.
That makes
Unfortunately,
sense.
that's just what happens. So I guess, you know, by that point, and then they're also more worried about the safety of the kids, so you get, you know, they're kind of worried that if they do the wrong thing, that they're going to jeopardize their kids. So, I mean, there is that sort of, you know, element of it, so... and then they've learned to just trust the supervisor, right? So I think that was the other problem, right? They just,
And then
it's just conditioning.
Yeah, and I also liked the sequence when the parents were like trying to
Oh,
send
yeah.
the beacon up. That was good.
Yeah.
The message was really sweet. The message that they like sent up there was really very sweet.
But they still sent it out, but not
like
revealing what they should.
And that was smart. That was smart.
Right? And so go and find somebody who's in authority and they'll help you get here. That's assuming that, they're assuming that somebody's still... Because, I mean, that's the thing. I would start to think that I was forgotten on this planet after all that time.
Maybe.
So I'm gonna say something about that. So are you done for episode 7? So, okay. So here I said, the first thing I said is you're really seeing Jod behave badly now.
Yeah.
The elimination of Brutus and the decapitation of SM33.
That was brutal.
And
that was brutal.
So, and we had a conversation about how most Star Wars episodes have sort of like a dark edge, and this one didn't really have one. Now we got it.
Okay, yeah.
It's just like, so there is that. I mean, they didn't really show what happened. I mean, they showed what happened to Brutus, but they didn't, unlike if in Andor, they would probably have shown it. So they sort of tamed it, but so there's that. And I said odd since we were just discussing how this series isn't as dark as others. So, and then I wasn't sure what happened to the droids at the end. Did he just get rid of all the droids? And then we found out in episode 8 that they are still there. Like I thought when they went into the vault that the droids were also eliminated with his lightsaber, but they weren't. I just would have thought that the droids would have thought he was behaving very strangely at the end.
But then again, like the supervisor and again,
the supervisor
the
did, but he was just enjoying getting covered with credits just too much. I would have thought that the droids would have thought that would have been odd for an emissary to do that. So then I said here, curious, what did I say here? Overthinking, but would they be wondering why there was no one came to the colony to get currency? Constantly talking about how it was so, how the currency was so old, right? So, I mean, that obviously means that no one has come for a long time, right? So it's just like, as people would be like, why is no one coming? So that would have been kind of a weird thing. And I think for me, my favorite part was when they were going through the barrier. I thought that was really cool, like that whole idea. And then you get through this, this green maelstrom of stuff, and then there's that little planet sitting there peacefully. So I'm not sure why I found that really cool.
One more thing that just came to mind, like all of the planets, like when we see, like, I mean, Star Wars, space, like, but like when we look at planets, like just in general, like the planets always just look very, very nice, and especially like with the newer movies as they get better, like CGI and stuff, the planets always just. I
think that's also because our perspective is evolving on that
I guess but I just really always like the look of like all of the planets. It just always looks very very nice.
It makes you inspires
even the barrier looks nice. Like it just looks pretty.
It's like a big green marble. But but the other thing that I was thinking about, and I think I wrote it here. You know how there's the decoy planets? None of them had barriers.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It was just I mean, everything was the same. Like the buildings were the same, but not the same.
Didn't have,
but none of them had barriers. But I guess maybe that's why they were decoys. I guess. But I always think, but none of them had a barrier around them, right? So there was that. And then, this is the episode. I don't know. It's episode 8 where they actually land, right? So in terms,
this is the episode where they land. They land on the planet.
They land into episode 7, right? Yeah. So if you look at the perspective of again, how long it took, I mean, it looked like everybody was so surprised by the mechanism of the landing. Yeah. Right? Like they're all like standing there.
Exactly. And then they're like,
so it's like, so I don't think anybody had ever seen anyone land. Yeah, so they were like,
that
so
would make sense. So
they were so like, they're like, oh, and then the droids are telling them to get out of the way, right? Yeah. Because they're all standing on the launch pad.
That is, and I think the math does work. It's like I'll talk about this next. When we do. But it does. The math should work. The math pretty much. I think it works. Yeah.
All right. So that was something that I was thinking about a lot. How long it's been and just how isolated they are. So that they completely missed everything, basically, right? And then, again, I'm asking myself, who is this supervisor? Like, it's just like, like, I feel like there's this buildup to who this supervisor is. But anyway, so that's where I was left with that. Okay, so that was it for me for episode 7. So do I start with episode 8?
Yep.
Okay, so last episode, the real good guys. Talking about the supervisor, the first thing I said,
it's nice that they always, like, the episode title is always something, like, it's nice that they have the continuity. It's always something that they say.
Someone yeah. We're the real good. We're the real good.
That was my one gripe with the Mandalorian. Like, they changed, or was it, or no, it was with the Acolyte. That was my one gripe with the Acolyte. The episode title names, like, they were patterned for a while, and then they weren't,
and then they stopped.
And then, like,
but this one is
like
good.
Annoyed me a little bit.
So here, the real good guys. So the first thing I said was I was disappointed that the supervisor was an AI. Like,
okay.
Like, there's, like, I feel like there's this build up and then the reveal, and it ends up being an AI. And I mean, I guess it makes sense because you need, I mean, they could have switched supervisors, but I still was thinking
corrupt.
But I
so,
still
like,
was,
it would have to be a droid that's programmed.
But I was still thinking that, there would be, it's kind of like that whole Wizard of Oz thing, and and then you see the wizard, and
and you're just a guy. I was kind of expecting that too.
Yeah, I was like, it was going to be a big reveal, and everybody was like, oh, that's who the supervisor is, but no. and he got neutralized so easily. Like, I would have thought there would be some sort of protective mechanisms to protect it, or something.
The droids, but I guess it doesn't.
Yeah,
I guess they probably were.
Like, I was
like someone with a lightsaber.
It's not, I mean, it's not. I'm not. When I say disappointed, I don't mean it ruined my episode. I was just thinking, like,
there'd be something more.
They could have done something pretty cool with that, and they didn't. So, like I said, I guess it makes sense because they needed somebody to sort of look over that.
And it was the last episode, like they did.
You know. So, but then that's why I was thinking of this whole thing with Catherine Rennan,
right?
So, anyways, but what I really loved in this episode is, like, the full circle character development. The kids were completely selfless and cooperating with each other. Like, they really, like, the whole arc of that.
And they used what they learned on the
And they used what they learned, and none of them felt that they had to be the hero at the end, right? They all were, like, trying to do what needed to be done and work with the parents as well. And I really love seeing Wim's dad do this whole thing, and he admitted that he wanted to be a Jedi, so there was that whole thing.
The one thing with the actually, no, I'll talk about it. Because but the parents were already starting to work together in the last episode, or it was 2 episodes ago, when they were trying to send the message out, like you were saying, and one by one they go down. But you can see that they're trying and here, and then, unlike that episode, Fern's mom, she kind of froze here. Like, she was the one that got the message out, but here at the end of it, I guess because she was the highest in authority, I guess, right, in a way. She didn't want to do the wrong thing, but in nothing about her life really prepared her for that, right? So really seeing the encouragement from the kids who had seen the outside world now and know what's out there. So yeah, and I really like that, and if you think about it, Neil now being brave and shooting the gun, and KB, working with, doing the ship and overcome whatever problems that she, or limitations that she felt that she had, and Wim now cooperating with Fern, and the parents, because I think at the beginning it's Wim and Fern that have the biggest issue with their parents, right? So now they're, like, understanding their parents a bit better, and Wim's dad. I enjoyed the pirate mayhem, even though it was silly, but it was, and then, at the end where the barrier goes away and then they all see the stars for the first time, they're like, so that was, like, a really cool thing. And then, of course, in the end, what happens to Jod, right? We're left with that. So, I mean, you just kind of, like, it kind of leave you with the open possibility that maybe we could have another series. I don't know if they're going to do that. It doesn't need it. Probably not.
But I think they should have a series just on Jod, so we understand it. And I mean, so then they explained how he is Jedi trained, right? And that couldn't have been. I mean, that's awful, right? Because basically his master got killed due to the executive order 66, right, or something like that.
Order 66.
Order 66. Yeah. So whatever it is that, and so that was part of that, and I think. And I mean, you kind of understand him a little bit because of that and how he had to survive. And he's a survivor. But still, I was still rooting for him. I don't know. Maybe in the end, I mean, he clearly isn't. He wasn't on the pirate ship, so whatever happened to him at the end, I don't know. I'd be curious to know. I almost feel like they should have done, now that I think about it, you know how sometimes at the end of a movie and they talk about what happened to all the characters?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Maybe.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Jod became this and this and this.
It was good. I think it was this fit that they just left it open. That fit. I think, but
I wish I still wish
Yeah.
I want to know what did he just get rounded up and hauled off to jail? I don't know, but we'll see. I mean, he's a survivor. I still feel like he might have figured out how to get out, or
Maybe,
I don't know. But anyways, okay. So your thoughts?
Yeah. So So I figured out how. Well, I didn't figure out. I just added up, but I figured out how long they were just there. Isolated, yes. So this series takes place 9 years after the Battle of Yavin, and then Order 66 is 19 years before the Battle of Yavin. So it's about 30 years that they confirmed would not have received any communication, because the supervisor said the last thing they got was that the Jedi were all traitors, and that was Order 66. But it could have been a little bit longer too, depending on when the Old Republic last came and sent an emissary. But it was at least about 30 years that they were isolated and received no communication. That would make sense why everyone was kind of like, oh, what's going on? Because even the parents would have been about the right age. The parents probably would have been about the age that the kids are now.
Yeah, so they would have been
30 years ago. So
and they might not have had a ship land, even longer than that. Yeah.
So that the math does work, which is good. The math does work. So. And then, I really liked just the last, battle scene. Mm-hmm. It was the big Star Wars battle type scene, but it was a little bit different, because, there wasn't, a huge blaster fight or a huge, they barely used a lightsaber at all. It was more, just...
The only one who had a lightsaber was Jod, who just was...
And he just got disarmed, halfway through. But, I liked that, and I thought it did fit, because, this series didn't really need, it started out with a big blaster.
Yeah, because there wasn't a one main evil person at they're usually fighting some sort of
and it was more so I liked just the dynamics between the characters in that last scene, or in that fight scene. My one thing was that when Fern's mom had to make a decision, Fern could have just gotten up, she was just sitting there, they weren't impeded in any way. Fern and Wim could have just gotten up, I guess.
But I guess she was worried that Jod was going to do something, right?
that probably
because
was it.
I got the sense that they needed to work together, and she wasn't sure if her mother was going to play ball, right?
Mm-hmm. And also she was the closest, but that was the one thing. They were about they could have been close enough, but. That I understand why that was. He had a
lightsaber.
Yeah, and I understand why that decision was made, and we needed to see
the tension and the character development between the two of them. Yeah. So story wise, it made sense.
Yes. So that was it. And I didn't think that KB died. I thought she was. No. I thought she was fine, because we didn't see a big fiery crash. And also
she went down, but but I just thought it was funny with SM-33 coming out holding his head. That was funny. And KB on the pile of credits.
You kids better get out of there, because you just had a big adventure, then you got smashed. Yeah, that was funny. But
so that was cute. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and then the last thing I wrote was what will happen?
Yeah, what will happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Wim, you see him looking up.
Yeah, we see him looking up.
Now he's got potential. Yeah. He doesn't have to write that test anymore.
He's not going to have to write this. He's not
he's totally going to want to go out to space and join that.
And quite honestly, he probably would have joined the New Republic and done stuff more than likely. I can see that happening.
But I mean, now they have a lot of other things that they can do. Yeah. And and then there's lots of credits now. I guess the New Republic forgot they were there. I don't know, but so there. So
they knew they were there. I'm sure.
I guess I don't know, but anyways. So now there's potential and see what will happen. I don't know if they're going to do another series with this or not. They don't need
probably
to.
not.
It could be standalone. Actually, in a way, in some ways, I wish they would, just so that we get some answers to like John and stuff. But at the other side, I'm like, you don't need to do it, because that might be overkill.
And I don't think they are going to.
Maybe once they are grown up, and maybe one of them. But I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. But anyways. So I don't have anything else to say. Do you have anything else to say?
That was it. No.
Okay, so that was our review of the last 4 episodes of the Skeleton Crew, and I think we enjoyed it. We enjoy most things in some way, shape, or form. So we always try to find the positives. But I think that this was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate that they put this out there for us to enjoy. So if you're listening and you have thoughts, please share them with us, and we look forward to interacting with you if we can. And hopefully you can catch our next episode or our next podcast. I'm not sure yet what it's going to be on, but look for that. And until then, we both want to thank you for listening and being part of the Birds on Power Lines podcast.